Very good morning to all the listeners and viewers of Hello Kolkata podcast, Kolkata Calling podcast series. Like every Sunday, we are back with a fresh episode of Hello Kolkata podcast. We bring in guests from all over the city, all over India sometimes, to share their journey, to share their experiences, and obviously their views about Kolkata. So today we have a very, very special guest. And the guest is special because I think a lot of our listeners and viewers have a lot to learn and take a lot of tips from what she's going to say today and what she's going to share. Today, we have Anupriya Chowdhary as our guest. So let me give a brief introduction about Anupriya, and then we'll invite her onto the main stage. Anupriya, it's a long introduction, but I'll try to keep it succinct so that she can share her journey. Anupriya is the founder of the Story Circle. She's a MyStory Coach. We'll get into that, what the Story Circle is, what the MyStory Coach is. She's also a TEDx speaker. She's a narrative intelligence coach, and which I'm extremely curious about to understand about narrative intelligence. She's also been an ex-HR leader. She's also an author, and she has started many initiatives, founded some companies, and done a lot in her field. She has worked with multinationals like PwC, Infosys, eClerx, Recon Group before taking the plunge and becoming a full-time coach. Today, we'd like to deep dive into the central message that your story is your superpower and why stories matter more than pitch decks and resumes. That's what we learned from Anupriya today. So without further ado, let me invite Anupriya Chowdhary to the main stage. Hi, Anupriya. Good morning, and thank you so much for taking the time today.
Hello, Subhi. I'm glad to be here and thank you for reading out that beautiful introduction.
Thank you. I had to because there was a lot. I couldn't remember so much.
You've
But
been kind enough, because a lot of times I get to hear that you've done so much. We're just confused. What is it all about? But
yeah,
you were so kind to say that there is a lot to learn from her, from what all that she's done. So thank you so much.
my pleasure. Anupriya, so firstly, thank you taking the time, and we'd love to, get into a lot of things about coaching and the main theme that we sort of put together about the story being your superpower. But before we get into that, would love to listen to your journey a little bit about your early days, growing up days, early influences, and obviously you had a career in engineering, then you did your MBA, and then you went into HR. So if you can unpack that for our viewers and listeners.
All right. So I think I like to call myself, I'm too inspired by the movie Three Idiots. And I
Mm-hmm.
like to call myself an idiot who did her engineering first, then switched her field from mechanical production engineering to software engineering, and then
Mm-hmm.
figured, no, this is not working for me. And I then moved on to do my MBA. I figured I like talking to people a lot. So at that time, I was naive enough to understand that HR is the field for me to be. So I moved into HR function and I worked in the function for almost, let's say, 8 years, 8.5 years. And then motherhood happens. I took a sabbatical, but talking about my initial years, formative years, the only thought process that I grew up with, which was instilled by my very middle class parents, was that you got to be financially independent. And those were the years of the great US IT dream. So get into a good engineering college, and then you will get into a company like Infosys, TCS, Cognizant, and then your pathway to the US opens up. But and I followed through that dream. I did get into Infosys. I worked in Infosys for 2 years. Only after that, I realized that I don't want to be sitting in front of the screen. And I switched my field. Yet, that need for financial independence, for making a difference, that was always there and that is still there. And that's the reason all the hustle, all the switching of careers has happened. And switching 6 careers isn't a joke. It's
Yeah.
like starting from zero 6 times. So only the first time it is that you have worked through your years, through your schooling and college for a career. but then switching 6 different careers.
Yeah. And
And
I think as you were saying all that, I was thinking that I think when you look at somebody's profile on a piece of paper, you see multiple changes and you wonder, okay, but when you listen to a person telling a story uh, about the journey, about why they chose certain things, why certain shifts in their careers, in their journey, personal, professional, I think it's a more engrossing listen to that. A little curious, Anupriya, to deep dive. You spent, a sufficient part of your career in HR, working with
yes.
people, and HR people, processes, systems, policies, all of that. How did you enjoy that experience? And working in the corporate, in a people leader role, did that sort of influence what you were about to do next?
Oh, very much. So, one thing is HR still remains to be my favorite field of work. I loved being an HR person. I loved being this HR leader. So in my last job, which was for 5.5 years, I was with an SME, Recon Engineers. That was an SME, and small organization, 200 permanent employees, 300 contractual employees, and then the labor that comes on site and works. But the learnings that I had there, uh, I was like the person to go to if people wanted to rant, if people had
Hmm.
any problems and anything to deal with their issues. So I loved it. It has, and then once something gets over, you realize the importance of it later. And after I left my job, I took a sabbatical. I got into blogging. I established a blog, parenting blog, which came to be known, listed as one of the best parenting blogs in India to follow. And all of that happened. Yet, when I felt something was missing and I sat down to connect the dots, it so happened that I figured that I have been listening to stories my
Hmm.
entire professional career as an HR. When you're taking interviews, what are you doing? You're
Yep.
listening to people's stories. The good stories, when you listen to a good story, you want to talk to that person more, you're curious about that person, and you are interested in that person. And the moment people fail to tell their story in a way that interests me, I would dismiss them off.
Mm.
Some of them I would still give chances. Those interviews would go longer than the expected average time. But I would dismiss them if they fail to tell their stories. So that was a eureka moment for me because I took my sabbatical in 2016 until 2020 when COVID hit. I was doing my blogging, but the moment COVID hit, TikTok got banned in India,
Hmm.
and everyone became a reel maker on Instagram,
Yeah.
and the budgets for long format content went down. So there were no collaborations and nothing. And then I decided, okay, this is a good time to take a break. Everyone was thinking like that at that point of time. Let me focus on figuring out what I really want to do. And then I sat down on the table and, tried connecting the dots. That's where storytelling came up from. So, yes, very much. My years as an HR professional did have a big role to play in me choosing my coaching niche, my speaking niche as storytelling.
Wonderful. And Anupriya, sort of, I'll shuffle a bit with the sections because you sort of mentioned the writing, the blogging, and a few initiatives that you sort of put your heart and soul in those intermediate years. And I was planning to come to them a little later, but since we are on that topic, um, tell us a little more about this habit of writing that you got into. You started with blogging, but and before you know it, you've already written 6 books. You are a published author with 6 books. uh, and I know, I have tried my hand at writing. It's very difficult to write, like write a book. You can write a post, you can write a note, but to write a book is real hard work. So how did that come about in your journey?
Oh, that's a Very funny story. Okay, so there's no intelligence here. There's no talent with words here. Uh, I am a Bollywood buff, movie buff to the core. I love rom-coms. I love romantic movies. Okay. And you will laugh off. Okay. That something so silly caused me to become an author. So I stumbled upon a website,
Okay.
uh, indiaforums.com, which was a forum for writing fan fiction.
Okay.
So have you heard about the term fan fiction?
Yes, yes, I'm aware.
Yes. So thank you, because hardly
But
any
but
people
but for
know
the
fan
benefit
fiction.
of our audience and
So
listeners, please.
fan fiction is they pick up characters and setting of a known famous movie or a series. At that point of time, there were no web series, but a serial. And you then, people then write their own renditions and versions of how things played out in the life of the characters. So
Yeah,
it's an easier thing to do because the setting is there. Whoever is going to read a fan fiction, they obviously are following that particular serial or a
yeah,
movie, right? So the characters are defined, the setting is defined.
yeah,
What they then do is they try and reimagine the circumstances, the conflict, and then how things play out in the character's life.
yeah.
So I got addicted to reading that for a particular a serial which used to air on MTV, I guess. And it was why I got interested in it was because it was a story of kids in an engineering college.
Okay.
A girl in the mechanical engineering class, where in a class of 60, 50, there were only two girls. And it just blew my mind how people were reimagining everything. And I thought, let me give it a shot. And I started writing fan fiction.
Wow.
And I got appreciated. I got one or two of my friends to read my fan fiction. Otherwise, I don't think anyone in my circle I've ever shared that link with anyone. It was
Mhm.
only the community people who were reading it, commenting it. A very, very purely online initiative and online prerogative, even a pen name and all of that. But then my friend said, you have a knack for words.
Mhm.
And now that you're going to be taking a sabbatical, why don't you start your own parenting blog?
Mhm.
And that's how writing started. And the initial books were result of various blogging challenges. So
Mhm.
they were a collection of blog posts combined into one theme, combined together and forming the book. Then I said, okay, let me write a fiction also. I wrote so many fan fictions, let me write a fiction also. And one thing led to another, one project led to another, and things happened.
There's a story behind everything, and I probably, when you were talking about the initial attraction to that particular series or serial, and I don't know if this is me assuming, but you would have probably related a bit to your engineering days when.
Yes,
Yeah.
I will tell you because during my engineering placements, a very, very famous automobile company, one of the most popular automobile companies in India, they came, I gave the interview, and I was super confident. I was like, excellent interview I've had, and I'm going to be on the list. And
Yeah.
they declared the list, my name isn't there. And I move out, I'm like, okay, there could be people better than me in mechanical, 60 boys. I
Yeah.
was betting against six girls against 84 boys.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, fine. But then somebody from the team calls me back and they say, we don't have a place for you on the shop floor. We'll have to check if we have a vacancy in the design room
Okay.
and we'll get back to you. If we have one, we'll get back to you. Obviously, they never got back. But yes, that knot was always there. It still
Mhm.
is there, I guess, because I recount this incident so many times. That knot
Yeah.
has remained. And probably that's the reason I got it. I did. You were right in assuming that that's what got me hooked.
Yeah. And writing six books is no mean feat. Now, Anupriya, changing gears a little bit, and now coming to sort of the crux of the the talking point. I don't know if you've coined this term because it was very new to me. The term narrative intelligence. And in the world of artificial intelligence taking everybody's imagination, it's very curious to try to understand what narrative intelligence is. If you can unpack that for me, our listeners, and how sort of that feeds into storytelling and your journey in the role of a coach, a storytelling coach for your audience.
Yes. So, a very pertinent question, Subir. And it's taken me years to come down to what I want to leave behind as my legacy, So, I am a very, uh, I have been this person through my childhood that, okay, jobs are okay, uh, but how am I making a difference? And I've always, from a very young age, I've always felt that I have to leave behind something that even if five people will remember, I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started my coaching journey and identified storytelling as my niche, I was like, storytelling sounded very bland. Trust me,
Mm-hmm.
even though stories are very interesting, but storytelling sounds very bland because we are, today morning only, I was reading on LinkedIn and Shiva Kumar sir, and he wrote a post, and it said that only 7% of Indians read,
Wow.
and more of them watch movies. Yes, but then with
Mm-hmm.
movies, what happens is that people watch a movie and they're done with it. Nothing stays behind, or hardly anything stays behind. It stays in their subconscious when there are parodies, or when there is standing comedy, or any connection made to a movie,
Yeah.
any reference made to a movie. They identify it, but there's hardly any use of it. While I realize that people need to use storytelling in their lives, in every facet of their life. How, I'll tell you now.
Mm-hmm.
You go for an interview, you need to tell a story which will make the interviewer curious. I won't say impress, I don't like the word impress, but it has to make them curious and want to know you better. Okay? You go get into the organization, you have to build up a narrative which makes your team curious. When you become a leader, it has to make your team curious. Okay, this is a person worth following.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just you being a technically learned person or performing well, but if you are recognized, are you telling your team what led to those recognitions?
Mm-hmm.
So your stories matter. You want to be a good leader and understand your team better, you have to know their stories.
Yeah.
You have to figure it out. Okay, you can't, one cookie cutter solution or cookie cutter mindset is not going to help you manage a team which consists of people. Every person is different, so you have to have that intelligence, I would say, the quotient, either a quotient, intelligence quotient, or a, that intelligence that helps you deal with people basis their backstories.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that, and there are different storytelling principles that apply to all of these frameworks, rather, but the
Mm-hmm.
fundamentals remain the same.
Sure.
And if you follow all these storytelling fundamentals, all your communication problems, all your relationship problems can be sorted.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I came to coin this term, narrative intelligence. That if you have this intelligence, if you
Mm-hmm.
understand these 4 or 5 fundamentals and practice them in all kinds of communication, be it a speech in an open hall, be it a keynote, be it a one-to-one interaction, be it one-to-many interaction, you are sorted. You can never go wrong with your communication.
And it's intriguing now. Now we are curious. Um, Anupriya, sort of, you've worked with leaders, you've yourself been a leader, and in your sort of experience as the coach, you've worked with many leaders. Uh, what did you see them lacking? I know, the solution to that is obviously narrative intelligence, as you said, but where were these leaders lacking? Whether it's a leader trying to manage an organization, giving a direction, or managing a team, or a startup entrepreneur trying to raise funds. There are multiple use cases, but where did you see this gap? Like, what were these leaders
So
lacking
I've
that
gone
narrative?
through yes. Sorry, I just got a little too excited.
Sure.
See, Subir, I have done my own research with leaders and reading their, life stories, the content available on the internet, and my own experiences. And combined all of that, what I have come to realize is that what is lacking is people failing to one, comprehend for themselves the why.
Hmm.
Why are they doing something? And then communicating the same to the stakeholders. I'll give you a simple example. We all know Indira Nooyi, and this is a name which everyone will be able to relate to. Thus, I'm
Sure.
taking this name. We all know Indira Nooyi. Now, at the peak of her career, she introduced something called an initiative in her organization called Leadership with Purpose. And this
Hmm.
came after a lot of allegations against the organization that they were using water irresponsibly. Okay.
Yep.
Now, when I watched that interview where the interview asks her, why leadership with purpose? Or rather, what were you trying to achieve with your initiative, leadership with purpose? Tell us about, tell us something about that. She gives us 3 points, and all the 3 points give us an insight about how she thinks.
Hmm.
The first point that she gives is, I don't remember the third one right now, but the first point she gives is about her childhood, where she came from a village where there was shortage of water. So she said, imagine being in a village where there's a shortage of water and you putting up a plant because you're generating employment. But what about the quality of life of those people?
Hmm.
We had rationed water, she said. We got just one bucket of water for washing and cleaning ourselves. And there was only one bucket of water to drink throughout, which was combined to cook and drink in the kitchen. So 5 buckets of water every day. That's it. So when she says that and when she tells story of her childhood, that is the reason I believe we need to be very purposeful in all our decisions. And water being one of the major decisions for a company like Pepsi, it definitely will move her people. If she just went and said to her people, oh, we are launching this initiative, leadership with purpose, it
Hmm.
won't work. She had to give this context.
Yeah.
Then she goes on to the second point, was also very relevant, where she says, I come from Yale, and they taught us, and they still teach us, that businesses will run. What will make you a legacy is the values that you stand for.
Hmm.
When she says that, it gives confidence to her team that the business will still run. We will deal with the fluctuations in the bottom line or the
Yeah.
top line, but we have to showcase what are the values that we are showcasing.
Very interesting.
So that is what uh, is narrative intelligence all about. Stories is one part of it,
Yeah.
but to be able to figure out why you're doing something through stories
Yeah.
is the crux of the matter. Your question was about, what is it that one has to be careful, the common thread. Why is the common thread? Clarity of your why. Like I'll tell you, just one more thing I want to tell you, that somebody who had known me in school, uh, almost 25 years ago, uh, they won't be surprised if they saw me talking about all these things, making an impact, leaving a legacy, helping people find out, doing a lot of uh, voluntary work with the Army Wives Welfare Association and TEDx properties and all of that. Because they give you a title in the 10th farewell, right?
Mm-hmm.
My title was Born to Fulfill Duties.
Wow, beautiful.
Your core value sticks with you.
Hmm.
You may shape up other values, but then your core values stick. Or there has to be a very strong flip, a switch that got flipped. I have had a mango life. I have not had a flip that switched, a switch that flipped. I've had a mango life. So then my core values have stood with me.
And Anupriya, so I mean, thanks for
I hope I'm
explaining.
still making sense.
Yeah.
I just got carried away. I hope
No,
I'm
no.
still.
I think the story has our attention as well. Um, you spoke about what narrative intelligence is and how it sort of can influence whatever you are doing in your life. uh, a question that I always have for myself is, obviously I have gone through a unique journey of my own, right? Everybody's journey is different, unique. But how do I look at my journey from where I am today, and what is the story, even before I tell others my story, what is the story I am telling myself? Because
Absolutely.
that sort of wires my brain to look at myself in a different way. If I tell myself that I have only been a victim of circumstances, I have always had the shorter end of the stick, it will orient my personality. But if I
Yes.
look at myself as somebody who's been resilient and overcome obstacles, I build
Yes.
more confidence. So that's
Absolutely.
something.
I think that's a bang on. That's something bang on that you have to change the narrative in your mind too.
Hmm.
And I love that example of, that I always was at the shorter end of the circumstances
Yeah.
because most of us feel like that.
Hmm.
Trust me. So, with a lot of people that I work with, especially women, they feel like that. And because we also I still believe that we do get the shorter end of the bargain
Yeah.
because of the biological clock ticking when it's time to grow in your careers,
Yeah.
because the societal pressure which says that the man is the earner in the family and
Yeah.
you got to compromise your career and all of that. But yes, what you tell yourself about resilience, if you can just switch the narrative, it
Yeah.
makes all the difference.
Yeah. Um, Anupriya, I know there is this voice framework that you've referred to, and I also was very curious about understanding it. Uh, what can you tell us about the voice framework, how it can be used, and if you could give us an example, maybe to sort of, uh,
So,
you know, yeah,
voice framework is very simply an acronym for values, origin, impact,
okay,
contribution,
okay,
and E stands for your elevator pitch.
okay,
Okay, so again, everything is around communication. It could be internal communication, it could be external communication. So, um, if in any role or at any point of time you are clear about your values,
hmm,
you know the origin of either your idea or yourself, if you are the idea, the impact that your contribution has created, and you can sum it all in 2 minutes in an elevator pitch.
hmm,
You are sorted in any kind of communication, be it an interview, be it a pitching competition, be it a negotiation, be it self talk. If you can fill up all the boxes in a satisfactory way, then you know you're on the right track. If any one of the boxes does not make you feel good about yourself, then you know that you need to fill this up either through self retrospection, introspection, or retrospection, You need to figure out your set of values. You need to figure out what in your origin has brought you here.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you need to switch careers, then you need to know, if your contribution isn't making impact enough, then something needs to change. So it's like a quick check of your own narrative.
Hmm.
If you're talking about an organization, your startup, if you can tick all the boxes, your elevator pitch will be a cakewalk. Now that we've all seen Shark Tank, you will
Yeah.
realize how origin stories matter.
Yeah.
Because the question
Yeah.
that they ask is, what made you think about this idea? That's an origin story.
Yeah.
Why hasn't been your growth that, the growth line that steep? Because we stuck to some values. So many startups, they have taken a decision today that we'll stay bootstrapped. That's a
Mm-hmm.
set of values. They don't want to get into a certain valuation game. That set of values.
Yeah.
What makes them confident is if you're making an impact through your contribution.
Yeah.
If there's no impact and you just keep doing something, you're like, Acha, kar rahe hain, we're doing, but it doesn't matter. It's like what Ashneer says, दोगुलापन है, because ये
Hmm.
तो जबरदस्ती की प्रॉब्लम है, इसमें तो कोई किसी को चाहिए ही नहीं ये solution. So if your contribution does not have an impact, then you
Yeah.
know that there's something that you need to do about it. That's the voice framework in a nutshell.
Beautiful. And when we were talking about the Shark Tank example, in my mind I went further back in the era of earlier reality shows, and one of the ones that came to mind was the Indian Idol. And
Yes.
what I have always felt in that Indian Idol is they would focus on few contestants, right? Whether they made it to the finals or not was not, relevant. But they would go back and shoot the origin story of those contestants, where they are coming from, why their journey is special. And out of lakhs of people appearing for the audition, they would choose some people whose stories really resonated with the audience, the viewers. And even years after the show has probably gone, you would remember that particular contestant among host of others because you connected with their journey, their origin, their values, as you said. So my mind immediately went back to Indian Idol, the stories that.
Absolutely. And now you're talking about Indian Idol, I have goosebumps because the other show that I was really fond of was Dance India Dance.
Yeah.
And in one of the seasons, there was this gentleman called Dharmesh,
Mhm.
and he's known as Dharmesh Sir. And how
Yes.
beautifully they built up that narrative of how he has, his students coming in for audition, all of them
And then
getting
he
selected for
himself
the next
coming in.
round. Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Narrative, right? Obviously, that was a narrative, and how
Yeah.
beautifully whoever edited the show, they built up that narrative.
Yeah.
It's just 2 days ago I was watching that audition. I'm really fond of him. So I was watching that audition, and it just gives me so much happiness that somebody thought of building up that narrative.
Yeah. Anupriya, and I'll ask a selfish question here, because in my role, as well as being part of Kolkata Calling, as you started with an example of interviewee, right? The interviewee example. Uh, we get a lot of people who reach out to us, saying, I'm looking for a job. I'm, trying to move back to Calcutta, etc. Uh, with the voice framework in mind, with the narrative intelligence, the foundation, um, what would be some of the useful tips or advice, whichever word you want to pick, uh, to tell the candidates who sort of are, pushed to a limit where they are really looking for opportunities but failing to convert them, and for whatever reasons, it could be the CV that they take, it could be the story that they tell. What would be some of the things that, from your experience as obviously the HR leader that you were, and now the storytelling coach, for candidates who are trying to convert an opportunity?
So one thing is you have to stop sounding desperate
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
take ownership of your narrative by filling up the boxes in the voice framework.
Hmm.
The moment you, and trust me, it may sound very hypothetical, but see, I understand that interviewing and getting an opportunity is a function of many external things.
Sure.
But the first thing is you have to tell yourself a positive story, as we discussed. You mentioned that
Yeah.
the story that you tell yourself is one of the most important things. So, what you need to do is you need to check, or rather elaborate on your values, your origin, your impact and contribution for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's some deep work. It's not
Mm.
that easy. We like to say, oh, I did this job, I led these many people, I got results of this many revenue. But that's it. Today, when people come for an interview, that's all that they have.
Yeah.
Number of years of experience, the brand name of the company. This is the revenue I generated for my company. That's about it.
Yeah.
So that's the reason there is no depth in your preparation.
Hmm.
So I often tell people until you have a journal, 100-page journal, and that's filled up in writing, divided into 5 parts:
Mm-hmm.
values, origin, write contribution first and then impact. Voice is for the sake of creating an acronym, but
Sure.
contribution will come first and impact will come later. And then the elevator pitch. The first 4 segments, you have to fill them out completely, exhaust the pages, write it down, read that 10 times, then create your elevator pitch. Create at least 10 versions of your elevator pitch. Edit, write again, edit, write again, edit, write again. Now, these days, we don't like to write, we have digital diaries or notepads. Do
Sure.
that. Do that. Until you have done that kind of a homework or rather self work,
Hmm.
आपको confidence आएगा ही नहीं. You will never be able to get that confidence.
Yeah. And what you just said, thinking about it, like if you do that, I'm pretty confident that the answers will flow very organically in an interview, because
Exactly.
all the prep has been done. You don't have. Yeah.
Absolutely. I've helped senior managers prepare for their interviews and do the self work and all of that. But one example that strikes out to me, stands out for me, and also it stands out because I've quoted this example in several of my keynotes, talking about being aware. It's not preparation, so it's more than preparation. It's about being aware.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
No worries.
Now, awareness only comes when you spend that time to be aware, become aware.
Yeah. I think in our HR world, we used to study something called the Johari window,
Ah,
um, where
yes.
you sort of what you know about yourself, what others know about yourself, and then there's something that nobody knows, right? That black box that we all have, where
Yes.
the awareness is not there. The shining light of awareness doesn't shine. But I guess the more you do this journaling, the more you do introspection, that area starts shrinking, and you're able to sort of uncover a lot about yourself, which could potentially make you a differentiated candidate in an interview.
I'm so happy you mentioned Johari Window because my book, Your Personal Brand, Johari
Yeah.
Window is chapter number 10.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And I was talking about that example, Shubeda. I'll take 2 minutes and I'll share that
Please.
example. So this is a incident from the time that my alma mater, KJ Sumaya, they came to Calcutta for conducting admissions interviews. And we were interviewing candidates, and all of these candidates, they come. And in Calcutta, a lot of students who come for seeking admission to MBA programs, they have gaps because they've taken gaps to prepare for their MBA.
Yeah.
And what they tell us is that they were working with their father
Yeah.
in their business.
Yeah.
Common scenario, you're aware of it. Now, one of these boys came in and he said that I took a break. He had amazing academics. And then we asked him, why did you take a break? You could have continued with your studies immediately after. And he said, what were you doing? He was like, I took a deliberate break because my father had gone through a heart surgery and I had to support him. What were you doing? His father owned a 200 square feet, 100, 150, a small shop, provision store. Perchun ki dukaan, provision,
Yeah.
general store, provision store. And I was with him. And it took us, intelligent boy, and he had to work for 2 years in a provision store with his father. And it just, made my heart go out for him. And he said, okay, so what did you do there? Did you not feel bad about being there? He said, no, I was helping my father generate income for the family. And I was also helping him improve. That made us very curious. Improve. So the interviewing devil in me just, wanted to test him. And I said, okay, tell us three things that you did that helped you improve things for your father. And this boy, he takes 10 seconds to straighten his back. And he sits like this and he says, the first thing that I did was that there was no segregation of SKUs for different items. And the provision store has many small SKUs. So I bought second-hand wooden planks and created more storage and display space for my father's shop. It's a small shop.
Mhm.
Second, my father thought investing in rodent control was a wastage of money. So when he was on a medical leave, I went ahead and made that expense. So that reduced wastage, which led to an eventual saving of XYZ amount. And the third thing is, I bought one person at very cheap labor to help my father.
Yep.
That that reduced the waiting time of the people on the counter. How beat that?
Yeah.
Boy, I would like to hear, before I give my interpretation, I would like to hear, what do you see this boy? How do you see this boy?
What I see is a lot of clarity. Uh, I what I liked about this particular story, if I may call it that, is that it doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be that you've moved heaven and earth in these 2 years. You've done small
Absolutely.
things. You've done very
Yes.
small things, but those small things have been done with an awareness, with a purpose, and that has led to even a small increment for his family, his father's shop. So I think that stuck with me. That you can tell a
Absolutely.
story even with very small contributions and impact, but when you stitch it up together, I think that makes it memorable.
Absolutely. So you will see a glimpse of this boy's values, the humble
Hmm.
origin that he comes from, his
Yeah,
contribution and the impact. And
yeah,
then the elevator pitch comes in that he has so much clarity.
yeah,
He has so much clarity that he knew what he had done. He'd come with that awareness that he had done
yeah,
this. When you have the clarity and awareness, then preparation just becomes a buzzword.
yeah.
So I work with students to help them build up their profiles, and I often tell them, whenever you have an achievement, write it down, and write it down in a CID format. Now CID is
Sorry.
not that.
Yeah, yeah, I was going to ask.
Yeah, CID is not that CID. Then CID is contribution and impact driven statements.
Okay.
So, whenever you write your achievement, or rather think about your achievement or talk about your achievement, create a habit of not talking about the achievement as in I got first prize in this. Think, how does it matter? What difference does it make to you? What did you do and how did it get appreciated? Start thinking in that format. And that point, it will also happen that prices will stop mattering to you. Then you will know, okay, so yesterday my kids went for a tree plantation drive on Basanti Highway. If you're aware of the one behind Ruby Hospital in
Yeah, yeah,
Calcutta.
yeah.
So one of the one of the kids, so we are a joint family, we have 5 kids in the house. So they come and they say, one of them says, मैंने सबसे ज़्यादा plants लगाए. I planted the maximum trees.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one says, I did not plant any trees.
Okay,
I helped with tilling the soil.
interesting.
So when you have that awareness that what you're doing is important and it's making a difference, then it will never be a matter of comparison. You will never
Yeah,
compare yourself with anyone else. You will take pride in your narrative. And that will lead to a different kind of a confidence when you're in an interview.
yeah. This is a very oft quoted story or anecdote. Two workers are working, and the person goes and asks one of them, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm breaking rocks." You ask the other person, the person says, "I'm building a temple." Right.
Yes.
So whatever small your contribution be, as long as you know what it's leading up to, I think that gives you a lot of clarity and purpose to your life,
Yes,
and I
that
think that's
story is
important.
also a part of my workshops.
Oh, wow. Wonderful. Anupriya, switching
Absolutely.
gears a little bit here. Obviously, through various journeys in your life and career, you decided to start something called the Story Circle, which does one-on-one coaching, narrative sprints, working with clients, helping them navigate real-world situations. Tell us a little bit about starting this venture on your own, and then what are the some of the offerings, rather, let's say, that the Story Circle brings to its clients, and the skills that you are implementing.
Okay. So I come from a typical job background, okay? Job service class background, do a
Yeah.
job on your salary, have a good weekend with the kids. And I don't remember a weekend in my life when my father, I grew up in Chandigarh. So Chandigarh has
Yeah.
a couple of places to go to every weekend. You can actually go to and enjoy and have a leisurely time. So there is a Mansa Devi temple, there's a Sukna Lake, there's a rock garden. Then there is Kasoli nearby for a drive and
Hmm.
solar. Okay, and then several other set of temples and a mountain peak, hill peaks and all. So we had a very simple childhood. My father would have even though he was working in the press, he was lucky enough to have his weekly offs on Sundays. And every Sunday we knew 4 o'clock is the time to get ready and sit in the car, and then my father would drive us to one of the destinations. And 6:30, 7 o'clock, 3 hours, everything was just 20 minutes away in Chandigarh. 2 hours, so coming, going to and forth, 40 minutes, 1 hour, and then 2 hours of leisure. I grew up in that setup. Have a simple life, have a good life, do simple things. And I got married into a Marwadi business family. Shoaib. There's no routine.
Hmm.
There are no work timings and there are no weekends. So I often meet a lot of my clients on Sundays, coaching sessions, counseling sessions on Sundays, and they're like, "How do you manage all of this?" And I'm like, "My husband works on Sundays. My kids go to cricket and come back and sleep until 3 o'clock. So I have time on Sundays. And why would I not work? No, if my husband's working, I'll also work." But it has taken the longest time for me to transition into being an entrepreneur, if I could call myself that. I'm not sure even today. I would still call myself a self-employed person, a one-person business, whatever.
Solopreneur is in fashion these days. Solopreneur.
Solopreneur, yes, solopreneur is the word.
Yeah.
So we used to call ourselves, a lot of my blogging counterparts used to call themselves mompreneurs. So solopreneur, mompreneur, these other terms. But I still don't feel very comfortable using the word anything preneur
Sure.
associated with me. So it's been a difficult transition. Yet, again, how things kept happening. And once I figured that storytelling is going to be the thing that I'm going to leave my legacy with,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I started doing workshops. I realized then the concept of narrative intelligence, and that led to one coaching sessions, a lot of keynotes. I think I have worked with almost every community. You have these non-profit communities.
Yep.
I've worked with almost all of them, spoken at all of them in Kolkata and beyond. I think Lions Club and Rotary is the only two places which are remaining for me now, but
Okay.
mostly every other non-profit community I have spoken at. So that gave me that high. Okay, I finally have something that I specialize in, that I want to
Mm-hmm.
leave my legacy with, and I make people curious about storytelling with. So that's the gamut of things that I started doing, and it came about very organically.
Yep.
People talk about strategy. I am a multitasking mother living in a joint family with 14 members under one roof. I have no time for strategy. I just want to keep working,
Yeah.
keep doing something that I love to do. And that has led me to create this very leisurely, as very organically. Okay, one thing led to another, another thing to another. And now I have clarity. I know what all that I can do. And I've put limits also to that.
Yeah.
Somebody told me, why don't you become a book coach? People are in today, authorship is in fashion. I said, no, I'm not doing that. I don't have the bandwidth for that. Somebody said, you should start traveling. I said, okay. I wasn't traveling at all until 2 years ago, 3 years ago, in fact. But now I'm open to traveling for 2 days a month. If I pitched in more, I could travel 5 days a month, but I don't want to do that. I'm trying to balance a great, because I have a husband who works 7 days a week, 14 hours a day. Uh, the kids need somebody. I will balance that out. So the days when I'm traveling, my husband works a little less. He comes home and he spends that time. My kids don't need us though. They're like, "Ab jao, we are here with cousins and dadima and we are good."
Yeah.
But it's I feel responsible that I need to be around.
Yeah, and I think that's where the values part of it comes in place as well. Like, what do you value? So I remember a former boss of mine, and he said, why it's called values? Like, because we were doing some workshops about values, vision, mission, company values, culture, and he said, why it's called values? I said, no, sir, please tell me. He said, it's what you value in life,
Yes.
right? It's what you value. So whatever you value in your mind, you have a certain priority order of what you value more,
It's your
what you value
guiding
less.
map.
It's a
Yes.
guiding map essentially. So I think choosing where you want to invest how much of yourself is also guided by that value framework. Anupriya, this has been fascinating. I know we have a lot of other stuff to cover, but I'll sort of try to do justice to your time as well. Uh, you have been into various initiatives, as you mentioned. You've spoken extensively at so many different places, keynotes. Uh, TEDxChowringhee is something that is very close to your heart, and over the last maybe 10 years, TEDx talks have become, a very, very strong source of and popular source of inspiration to know about people's journeys, their experiences. Curating these events, speaking at these events, what do you see the impact of TEDx Chorangi in your life and in society around?
Well, I think I would attribute all my success as a speaker or a storyteller to TEDx Chowdhary. I had been blogging. I had written the books before I joined the TEDx Chowdhary team.
Yeah,
But the moment I had this opportunity to interact with people who had made a difference,
yeah,
and yet I realized they don't know how to tell the world how they have made a difference. It just, it, that was my eureka moment,
hmm.
that, people are doing some amazing work.
Yeah,
people have some really insightful learnings which the world can know.
Yeah.
And that's where I started working towards. Not only TEDx, so I have, curated. I've been a speaker curator for almost now 4 TEDx events. Two at TEDxChowringhee and two at TEDx Goa. That was earlier called what? Um, Now it's called TEDx Panji. Earlier it was called something else, but yeah, Panji. It's the standard license for TEDx Goa. So four
Okay.
TEDx events, four Pecha Kucha events, and several other events with Army Wives Welfare Association and others. And it just gives me such a kick to help people design their story so that someone else can hear it, listen to it, and find inspiration for themselves. A small example, if we have time.
Please, please.
Yes. We work with Army Wives Welfare Association. For 2 years, we've extensively worked with them curating 9 storytelling events. And in one particular event in Ambala, we had invited a Veer Nari. Veer Nari is somebody who's lost her husband on duty.
Yeah.
And the entire Army Wives Welfare Association setup is meant to support uh, every army wife, especially Veer Naris. And we invited a Veer Nari to share her story. And she had done with her story, and then there was tea break after her sharing the story on stage. And then the organizing team from amongst the Army Wives Welfare Association, one of the ladies, wife of a senior officer, almost an in charge in that commanding office, she, we were, having tea, and she walked up to me and she said, "You know what? ऊपर ऊपर से तो सब कुछ हो ही रहा है, बट जो ग्राउंड लेवल पे हो रहा है उसके लिए इस तरह के इवेंट जरूरी हैं.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever is happening at ground level, we need to tell those stories through such platforms." And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And she said, "I'll tell you why. That is because we invited that Veer Nari from Bhopal to share her story. And they had particularly invited a Veer Nari to attend the event to listen to her story. And this particular Veer Nari on the stage had shared that when she lost her husband and she went to the Army Wives Welfare Association office, she was told that next time she can't come with a relative. She has to come on her own. And they helped her buy a scooty, a two-wheeler, and she learned to drive that two-wheeler, ride that two-wheeler, and her life changed. So this Veer Nari from amongst the audience, after in the tea break, she walked up to this officer's wife, the senior lady in the regiment, and she said, "Ma'am, I also want to learn to ride a scooty. Will you
Yeah.
help me do that?" And that's all the difference that needs to be made.
Yeah.
But story has solved the purpose.
Yeah.
I still have goosebumps, whenever I
Yeah.
narrate this story. I narrated this last Saturday also because we're curating another event. But that is the power of you sharing your personal stories.
Yeah. And true to the theme that we were talking about, that your story is your superpower, but that superpower is not just limited to improving your lives, but you can
Yes.
improve the lives of so many others, sometimes knowingly and oftentimes unknowingly. um, Anupriya, this has been fascinating, and I know we are at the hour mark, but I just want to squeeze in one section that is also very close to my heart. And because it's Kolkata Calling and Hello Kolkata podcast, not very imaginatively named, I would say, but you've been in Kolkata for a while now. Obviously, your growing up days were in Chandigarh, but now you're in a different city. You've been in a different city for many years now. From that perspective, like both outsider insider perspective, how do you see the city? That's my first question. And the second thing that I would love to learn or gather from your experiences, how can we tell the Kolkata story better? Because for Kolkata Calling, the little bit that we try to do is to share positive stories about the city, the state, without any biases, without any political affiliations, but just to showcase positive stories about the city. uh, we try to do our best, but how can we do it better? We would love to learn from a storyteller like you.
Tell more stories. I'll tell you. So I came to Calcutta exactly 15 years ago. Okay, it's July, and I got married in July in 2010. So exactly 15 years ago, I came to Calcutta, and when I came, I thought there was such a dearth of opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
and I still managed to get a couple of jobs. That's a different story, but I felt that nothing's happening here. But slowly, as I moved out in the circles, I realized this place is like any other city. Rather, this city has a soul, and that's the reason people are not going mad
Yeah.
like they are going mad in every other city. We aren't going mad, we are quite grounded. We have a soul, be it the Marwadi community, business community, be it, irrespective, because I come from that community, but
Sure.
irrespective of your community, everyone is grounded. And now people are really making a difference. So I hear that I was a part of the TiCon event in
Yeah.
February or March, and they're doing some amazing work, and so many startups mushrooming it from the youth in Calcutta. They're
Yeah.
not scared to take that chance. Then there's another community where I hear that I think Arun Mukherjee is
Yes.
the pioneer.
Bengal Bengal
The big,
entrepreneurs ecosystem. Yes.
yes,
He
yes.
Arun has been
150
on this
people in,
podcast before.
okay. So
Yeah.
100, and I always see his meetings, 150 people in the room.
Yeah.
How do you beat that? I don't see any other city having this kind of a business ecosystem, entrepreneurial ecosystem, where kids, 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, all in the same room,
Yeah.
right? Uh, I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Harshvardhan Neotia last month, or rather the
Wow.
first of this very month in July. And we were a group of women who went to meet him, and he was kind enough to entertain us with his story. And he said that I would not trade anything to go and live in any other city. I live in Calcutta. I will be in Kolkata always. I
Yeah.
might grow my business globally, but I will be in Kolkata. This is where my soul lies. And when I came to Calcutta, I'd lived in 6 months, for 6 months in Lucknow, for 3 years in Pune, 2 years in Mumbai, 6 months in Mysore, and all of that. And I'd become quite geography neutral. But now I feel my life is easier here
Yeah.
with the kind of flexibility this city gives us to go either fast or slow.
Yeah.
And with the digital world right now, with the digital platforms, I don't even have to think about anything. It's everything. The world's my canvas.
Yeah.
But Calcutta is an easy place to live. I've come to realize that through my travels in last 3 years. Calcutta is a very easy place to live in. There is no reason that any of us has to crib, because we have enough entertainment now. We have places to go to, cafes, eateries, everything coming up, cultural gatherings, entrepreneurial gatherings,
Yeah.
philanthropic gatherings. We have it all. So I have come to love this place, yes. And of course, because I know that I'm not going anywhere, I'm here for good. It's better that I look at again. It's all about, digging out the good things so
Yeah.
that you can build up that narrative in the mind.
Yeah.
So yes, I've come to build that narrative in the mind.
I think this has been fascinating listening to you, Anupriya, and I think somewhere knowingly or unknowingly, we have also been journaling Calcutta's journey, and what we try to do, at least from our page, is to share the positive stories that are there, and with the through line, which is coming back to Kolkata for people who've gone out, should not be an emotional decision. It needs to be grounded in facts. It needs to be grounded with logic. It needs to be grounded in practicality. Otherwise, if you're just driven by emotions to come to the city, or that, oh, it's nostalgic, oh, parents, family, friends, all of that, if you're just driven by those emotions, you might start regretting the decision later. But
Yes.
only when you see that there are so many reasons, like you have opportunities for your career, you have opportunities for leisure, you have opportunities for culture, you have opportunities for social gatherings. All of that together, it's a value proposition that Calcutta gives you, and then the decision probably becomes easier. So we try to push that narrative in our own way, but I believe with
No, so
this
I give you something more, it was not just
please.
it's not just about an emotional. I was forced into coming to Calcutta.
Sure. Yeah.
My boyfriend said I'm going back home to set up my own business
Hmm.
and we'll be in Calcutta. And I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
What am I going to do? And for 6 years, I managed to find a job and everything. But in my mind, I was always regretting it. Like you said, I was always
Yeah.
regretting it because it was an emotional decision.
Yeah.
I just followed my to be husband to the city.
Yeah.
And it was an emotional decision. But then when I took a sabbatical, I asked myself, what am I going to do with my life? Am I going to cry for the rest of my life? Or am I
Mhm.
going to look for the opportunities?
Yeah.
And that's when I started looking at things in the city, and I found it's no different than any other city.
Yeah.
Rather, it's a city with a soul. I like to say that.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful, and I think for our listeners and viewers, and for us as well, I think the voice framework will stay with us. So, for my recollection, I'll just reiterate it once. So, values, origin, impact, contribution, and which all ties together in your elevator pitch. So that's the voice
Yes.
framework. It's beautiful. Anupriya, this has been a real pleasure to listen to you, to learn from your journey, to dive deep into storytelling, narrative intelligence, and you obviously tell beautiful stories. So thank you for taking the time to share that with us, with our audience and viewers. Before we close, any closing messages for your audience, and where can people find you? How can people get in touch?
Okay, I live on LinkedIn. I
Okay.
absolutely live on LinkedIn. Live, breathe,
Yeah.
eat, breathe, and everything on LinkedIn. So you will
Yeah.
find me there. I think we also got connected through LinkedIn or
Yes.
WhatsApp probably. So LinkedIn is the place where you'll always find me responding. I might ignore a WhatsApp message. I'll never ignore a LinkedIn message. So that's where you will find me. And that's where you will also find about all my services. Anything that you see, narrative is all about clarity.
Hmm.
And if you're seeking clarity, I could help you. I have helped, I could say that I've individually helped up to 600 individuals.
Wow.
And apart from that, 12,000 people in workshops and in auditoriums, but individually around 600 plus people. So I think I've built up that credibility now. So if you're seeking clarity, especially for any kind of communication, you'll find me on LinkedIn as Anupriya Chowdhary, MyStory Coach, and I'll be happy to help.
Wonderful. With that, I think Anupriya, it's been fantastic session to listen to you. Thank you so much, and do keep sharing more positive stories and making an impact in the lives of people.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Subir.
Thank you. With that, I think we'll close the podcast for today. Thank you, everybody, for joining.